Podcast is intended for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed are those of the panelists and do not reflect in any way those of the podcast partners, sponsors, or affiliates. Enjoy.
ThaBoxingvoice.com. When I say I promise you, I'm gonna knock out the Gypsy King as well.
Dollar DVLC Productions.
How am I gonna let this little skinny spaghetti hit my baby?
ThaBoxingvoice.com.
Yeah, numbers don't lie, and I'm that guy. And I'm the dog with the bitch.
When I stepped on the scene, I said I wanted this road. I said I wanted that road.
ThaBoxingvoice.com.
You know, so I'm still on the mission.
I'm gonna chase his ass all the way up there.
I told him it's an easy fight to make.
Some of them like it, some of them don't. ThaBoxingvoice.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Boxing Voice Radio. We're bringing you back another hot interview. We got Ishe Smith. He's lined up for the show. Ishe is said to be in a big fight on the Abner Mares versus Gervonta Davis undercard, which is a big fight. So we wanted to get the old veteran on and pick his brain and see what he thinks of the young lion in Erickson Lubin. I got my co-host hailing from Corpus Christi with me, Mario in the building. What's going on?
It's me, Mario.
We good. You know, back at it. Very interesting guest. Always enjoy talking to Ishe. Very good dude. As you said, seasoned vet. Got a lot of questions for him, and so I'm hoping that we get him on and everything goes as planned. I will say that I am very pleased to see that it'll be a multicasted fight for the PBC card. Usually they do like a televised stream or whatever, and we see a lot of the undercards, but we don't always get that second or third fight on the telecast. So it'll be a good thing, to get these guys. It's obviously like a fight for Lubin. It's obviously he's in a position to
loss here. What are you saying? Multi-telecast? Are you trying to say it's a triple header?
No. Right now it's a double header, it seems like. And so a lot of times I worry with these PBC fights because we've seen them telecast over various platforms, from streaming services to like Show Extreme or Fox Sports 1, or like they jump around, you know what I mean? So this is a good lead-in fight. A guy like Erickson Lubin, who's definitely fun to watch, and Ishe has shown that he is definitely not done after his fight with Harrison. And that's another thing I'm looking to get to talk to him about. He had a split decision loss to Harrison. And after what Harrison was able to do against Jermell Charlo, I think that amplifies that fight a little bit. True, he lost, and Harrison was already thought to be a tough opponent before that, but I think it puts it into a greater perspective, and I wonder if he kind of sees it the same way,
Yeah, man, I'm interested to see what he's got to say and where exactly he's at in his boxing career. Ishe Smith is 29 and 10, no draws, but he's like the Orlando Salido of the 154-pound division. I mean, this guy's been making 54 forever. For all you noobs out there, all you casuals, Ishe's been in the ring with Daniel Jacobs, who, when he comes on, he argues that he beat. Fernando Guerrero, another one that he probably beat, didn't get the decision. I mean, Vanes Martirosyan, Frank Galarza, Tony Harrison, Julian Williams, everyone, bro. Like Islandri Lara, Carlos Molina, K9 Bundridge. Yo, the dude's resume is crazy, gravy thick. Paul Wallach. I mean, this guy's been in there with everyone. And there's a lot of experience there. For Lubin, this is going to be a tricky fight. He's going to, Ishe can make any fight tough for an inexperienced fighter. And Ishe is a prospect killer, man. I'm telling you, he's beaten and been robbed versus some prospects where they'd had to dial those prospects back because they weren't able to get past that Ishe Smith test. So I'm interested because I was high on Lubin and still am, and this is a great bounce back fight. But for Ishe, it's also a stepping stone. He can use Erickson the same way Erickson wants to use him to propel in the rankings, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one big thing following the Harrison Jermell Charlo fight is this fight now puts it into a category that it might not have been in before. This winner could absolutely get a huge shot, with a big PBC fighter. That is absolutely well within the, I think the game plan certainly lends itself to the winner getting a big fight. But at the same time, if you're Ishe and you win, I think there are a multitude of things you could do. You could go out and fight somebody who you haven't fought before, somebody high on the PBC ranking, somebody high within, a belt, an organization list. But I think, going after Harrison, I think he could get him. I think that would be great to avenge that loss, and Harrison's like the man right now. He could steal that momentum that he has, especially if it's, he's fighting early in the year. So you could definitely flip it around and make Harrison your next fight, assuming him and Charlo don't fight. And that's another thing. Jermell looking suspect. Ishe's in a prime position to go out and maybe even give Jermell a second loss. So, and we're not going to jump too far ahead of it. But all I'm saying is this is a win that every time you win, it does something great. But this win right here for Ishe has a lot riding on it. He has a lot he could flip for it. You know what I'm saying? Versus Lubin, he beats Ishe. I think he's already lined up. I don't know where he's lined up, but I think they have a trajectory for him. They have a course that he's set on. And so Lubin winning, I don't think is as sexy as Ishe winning, because with Ishe, he has so much in front of him. It derails a lot of plans. And, it's kind of like, for the pickings. I don't think we see Lubin in a huge fight after Ishe Smith, should he be victorious.
Nah, I think you're right. I think if Lubin gets past Ishe, they'll probably, continue to guide him on the comeback. But you're right about Ishe as well. I think Ishe is more probable to get a bigger fight, not because he's more worthy or deserving, but because more than likely, if he upsets Lubin, he can easily be the Jarrett Hurd, hometown opponent. He could be, the Harrison hometown opponent, which would put him in one of those big shots. Again, not saying that he deserves it, but I think that it would end up that way because perception would have Ishe still as the underdog in both those fights. And, that's probably why he would get it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And then a big thing too to consider is that, I'm not going to get crazy here, but I think if you're a guy who is a natural 154 that can squeeze up to 160, I think that I'm not going to say that he's in the running for Canelo, not at all. All I'm saying is that Ishe is the kind of fighter with those kinds of physical dimensions that the Canelo camp is looking for. And while Ishe might not be on their radar right now, you put a win against Lubin, you put a win against, you flip that into a win against Harrison / Jermell, and all of a sudden I could see Canelo wanting to, squeeze in a fight in between his big fights. And who knows? That might be a guy that they come calling for because he fits those dimensions. Ishe.
For Canelo?
Look, I'm not saying he's on his radar. All I'm saying is he beats Lubin, right? Then he beats a Harrison / Charlo. The Canelo camp is looking for weight friendly fights. They're looking for guys that can make a certain weight but aren't going to be bigger than Canelo. You know what I mean? They're not chasing huge super middleweights. They're not chasing huge middleweights. Like, they want guys that fall in a particular category, and all I'm saying is he falls in that particular category.
Well, let's see. I'm communicating with him in the back end. He should be connecting with us here in a bit, and we'll put him through. He's got the task of taking on Erickson Lubin. Lubin, still very young, still plenty of time to make a name for himself in the sport and change trainers. You know, no longer with his hometown trainer, instead with Kevin Cunningham. And, you know, being able to get some of that world-class, not only tutelage, but training camp kind of lifestyle that, you know, Adrian Broner and Gervonta Davis and all those big names that Kevin Cunningham has in that gym bring to them. But we have Ishe Smith, the former IBF champion, on the line. Ishe, what's going on, brother? I was just bringing everybody up to speed, man. Just how much you have done in this game, how many guys you've been in the ring with, and you know, really where you're at in boxing and where you've come. And we're looking at this fight as a good one, brother. We're looking at Erickson Lubin and Ishe Smith as a damn good fight. And I'm wondering, what's your thoughts upon taking on the young Erickson Lubin?
You know, he's just like, you know, any other fighter I fought. They're pretty much all the same, you know. They're just, I'm a little bit older than him now. So, but he's a good fighter. He had one setback, and, you know, that happens in the sport of boxing. He has a good trainer in Kevin Cunningham. So I have a lot of respect for Kevin. I've been knowing Kevin and for many, many years, all the way back in the Corey Spink days. I was hanging around, and Kevin's always made world champions. I knew he was working with
Ishe,
Devin or Devon Alexander.
If you could just try and move around the where your location just a bit to see, can we get a better connection? It's kind of going in and out, robotic-y a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Still the
Hello?
same. All right, let me.
Yeah, that sounds better.
You there? Nah, he dropped off. All right, we'll get him back. You know, he sounded underwater. Hopefully he can reconnect, and we'll do it. It is Las Vegas, bro. Las Vegas. I mean, I talk to Robert Ortiz all the time. Very, very tough to get a great connection.
Reception. Yeah.
In Las Vegas. In the super chat, they're saying, is that Ishe or RoboCop? So hopefully we get him back on. And yeah, we pick his brain, man. We pick his brain about this fight. First thing he said was that he's no different than any of the other guys that he's faced. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, he seems very I mean, obviously confident would be a thing, but it sounds like he understands exactly what the scenario is. He knows who he is. He knows who he's fighting. He knows all the he seems to understand the perception very well from our eyes just as well as his. Like he's saying, you know, I'm the veteran. He's coming in and he's fighting, you know, a guy who's younger, and that's exactly what this is. You know, it's the veteran versus the guy who might have made a mistake. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you before Ishe got on, was with Erickson Lubin, you know, was it too soon to fight Jermell Charlo? He had not taken on anyone that resembled his or Jermell Charlo's abilities. You know, it's kind of like he had enough fights and he was down to fight someone big. And that pays off sometimes, but in this sense, it did not pay off. You know, he got KO'd early, took that loss, and now he's trying to rebuild. So was it too early? I don't know. And then going back to Ishe, it's like, if you made that mistake, you know, who knows? You might make another one fighting Ishe at this point in your career.
I don't know if I would say that, you know, Lubin Charlo fight was too soon. I mean, he got caught, man, and a lot of people get caught. So, you know, we gotta wait and see. This is his comeback. This is his rebuild right now. So That's the only way we're gonna find out is watching him come back. Well, hey, Mike, I will bring you up to speed. We had Ishe. He was sounding a bit like RoboCop, and he dropped off. We're hoping that he reconnects. I've sent out another message to make sure we're going to get that reconnection. If not, bro, this is show business, and that is Las Vegas. It's a horrible place to connect. But, I mean, what are you most excited about this fight? I mean, do you like this fight?
Yeah. I think it's kind of a crossroad fight for both fighters, and also Ishe previous performance on Bounce when he fought Tony Harrison. A lot of people thought that he could have possibly got the draw or even the nudge to win. I just think Ishe's a competitor. He's been around the block, so he's that guy where Erickson Lubin can come in and kind of gauge where he is in his career, because Ishe gives a lot of the top fighters tough fights. So, and I think Erickson Lubin, to your point, just got caught against Jamel Charlo. So this kind of test for him will be good in the stage of his career right now.
Now they're ranked 20 and 23 in BoxRec, so solid matchmaking, right?
I would say so. I mean, I think one thing about Al Haymon, man, he always gives opportunities to like his fighters. Like I never would have thought of Ishe and Erickson Lubin kind of fight, but it does well for like both fighters. Like both fighters can grow off of this win. You know what I'm saying? If whoever wins.
That's funny because I would have said that I could have envisioned them fighting at some point. I mean, maybe not if he beat Jermel, but yeah, this fight makes sense on so many levels. You know, you got, like we said, the young guy versus the vet, but also from like just seeing, like with Ishe, Lubin is going to get the experience of like 2 or 3 fights under his belt with all the things that Ishe has learned that he brings to the table, all the things that he can do in the ring to cause trouble. Like Ishe is the kind of guy who, even when he's not winning the fight, he is making it difficult for the fighter. You know, Breadman said in the fight with J-Rock that that there could have been ways that J-Rock could have made things easier on himself. And I think that's a testament to Ishe because he doesn't make things easy. You know what I mean? Even if he is getting outpointed or whatever, you know?
I think we got him back. Ishe, are you there?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me now, or is it still staticky?
It's in and out, but we'll take it, man.
Definitely a little better.
All right.
So Ishe,
You're hoping the phone.
say again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So Ishe, just to this is Mario Munguia, by the way. Just to kind of piggyback off of that last question, and we did hear you, we did get your response, but my question was, if coming into this you have fought some pretty tough competition, and I get it, you know, you're getting up there in age, you're a veteran, you know, there's really nothing, I mean, there's no need for like tune-up fights or anything like that, but the fact that you're going from J-Rock to Tony Harrison to Lubin, do you think that maybe do you think that you would have benefited from maybe taking a softer touch before fighting somebody like Lubin? Not to say that, you know, he's somebody, I mean, you've been in the ring with, you know, solid competition, but you know, at what point do you think that it would be better for you to go and get that easier win and then come back and fight top guys?
If you want to be the best and you want to prove that you're still one of the best, and you want to fight the best, and a lot of the guys that's hanging around now are younger. You know, they're fighting each other, and you know, sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. I think Tony Harrison has improved the last fight with me. He wasn't the same guy I saw on film, And this fight with Charlo, he performed well. Either way, 2 points either way isn't bad, or a draw wasn't bad, but I definitely didn't think it was a highway robbery. And then you look at like me, and I fought Tony Harrison to a split decision. Then you look at, and a lot of people had me winning that fight. It was a very tough, grueling, competitive fight, and he's going on that world championship soon. So I just want to, I'm fine with being a people's champion. I've done everything I could possibly ever doing in this sport, and I just go out there and fight and give my all, and I just want to fight the best. I've always been like that. Coming up early in my stages in my pro career, I want to fight the best. So it's no different with Lubin, it's no different than Harrison, it's no different. It's no different than a lot of fighting Danny Jacobs and all those guys that I fought in the past. So I just want to fight the best, and Lubin is one of the best. And he says he got next, and I just say I want all the smoke. Let's make it happen.
Do you think that this is a step too soon for him? I mean, because we were just discussing whether or not the Charlo fight was too soon, and I'm saying to myself, it's not. He just got caught. But when you go through his resume, there isn't an in between. It was just like the prospects that he's supposed to beat when you're a prospect, and then he jumped into a title fight with Jamel Charlo. Now he's going into his first former world champion.
I can't really worry about what he's doing. My main focus has to be me and what I'm doing. Like I said, before we got disconnected, I have a lot of respect for Kevin Cunningham. I've been knowing that brother before, I think, Dan Alexander turned professional, and I was in the gym sparring Von Alexander when they were both. Watch what he's done through the years. I was here when Spinks was undisputed champion, young in my pro career, and Kevin's still training people. So I have a lot of respect for Kevin, and I know Kevin is going to have him prepared, and I have a great coach. And I have to just worry about me. When you reach a certain age and you get to a certain level and you reach a certain plateau, your biggest competition is yourself. So I have to just worry about me and make sure I'm executing. But the one thing about me is when I get in there, it's no trick I haven't seen. No type of no type of game or I haven't played, and I've been in there for next year it'll be 19 years, and I've been in sparring. I spar to be think of from this generation that is going to go to the Hall of Fame, from Bernard Hopkins, Fernando Vargas to Shane Mosley, Fernell Whitaker. Like, I've sparred a lot of those guys, burning for it. So, and even sparring those guys, I was learning on the job, like just the experience. You could just tell you may be able to match up, but
Ishe, I'm trying over here, but it is just unaudible. And he dropped off. So see, he knows himself. I mean, I don't know. It's Las Vegas, dude. Oh, that is such a bullshit. I hate Vegas.
Did they have Skype? By the way, by chance? Probably be a better way to try to get him on. If you want to continue to do the interview. Sometimes phone reception is bad in Vegas.
No, horrible.
Well, I don't know if you want to try to see what you can do on the back end real quick. I will say, though, I understand where he's coming from. You can't worry about what a guy like what Lubin's doing. Is it too soon? Is it not? Like, that's not his call. That said, I wasn't even looking for that. I was actually it was a lob ball to set up a good headline. Be like, hell yeah, he should have never took this fight. Like, he don't have no in between, and that's what makes him a vet, though. Not getting into that, that's what makes him a vet. And I thought that's what you were doing.
He has been there. Remember, he was there with Rosado, I believe.
Yeah, of course. No, of course. Yeah, he's been there before. Like, he's not going to, he's at a position where he's not going to fall for some of these things that he's been able to say. And the respect with Kevin Cunningham, as he was saying, probably will, make him refrain from saying things that are maybe like considered overly disrespectful or whatever. But I don't even think that's the point. I think the point is this: Ishe knows where Lubin's at. And I think he believes that maybe Jermell was a little too soon, maybe not. But at this point, he's got Erickson Lubin in a perfect position where, regardless of who's better, Ishe has the abilities, the veteran techniques to win on that alone, which is very rare at this stage or at this point in a fighter's life. We saw it with Salido and Lomachenko, and it happens. It plays out. It doesn't happen often, but a lot of times they do.
Will you give Erickson Lubin credit, and how much if he stops Ishe, who's never been stopped?
Damn right and shit.
Ton of credit.
He been in the ring with some
yeah,
live.
But he's 40 right now.
I don't think I care, because I will say this: Ishe has been an older fighter for quite some time, but the way that he fights, he has definitely rested his body. He hasn't taken as much punishment. Like, look, when a guy like, let's say, I don't know,
he only fought once last year, and that was with Tony Harrison.
Exactly. So he's taking his options.
2018.
Yeah, he's taking his moments. He's taking his options, very calculating. You know what I mean? He's not going to risk more of himself if he doesn't have to.
One fight in 2017, and that was with Julian Williams, and one fight in 2006. Oh my God, we need to get him back on.
Did y'all by chance watch the Tony Harrison fight though?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not. I thought I was in a minority like when I watched, because I kind of scored it a draw, but I thought Ishe was the aggressive, but Tony did box, so I called that fight a draw. But I could see where people were upset with the scoring, because a lot of people in the crowd had Ishe winning, and I think a lot of the poll on Bounce had Ishe winning too.
Ishe had a 95-94 on the card for him, and the rest of them were 96-93, 97-92 for Harrison. I thought the 97-92 was a bit too far, but yeah, I could have easily seen that fight a draw. Going into this, it's really hard.
How much does that suck? Like you believe you won, and you got a judge saying you won, and you got some people saying you won, and you see what Tony Harrison just did. You know what I'm saying? Like you were that close to being maybe that opponent for Jermell Charlo. So,
well, I think there's good and there's bad. See, one of the questions I was wanting to ask, and actually right after it was going to be my next question, was the fact that he had mentioned, about the Harrison fight, and he kind of touched on exactly what you said, Mike. And knowing now, yes, it would have been great to win that fight, but knowing now that you got a split decision with a guy who just beat Jermell, who was on this, rocket ship of a ride, and for you to be in that position where now it's like that fight makes sense in a rematch. If you get a guy like Ishe to beat the young up-and-comer in Lubin, and then Harrison to beat the guy who's supposed to be the guy in the division, then now you set up a fight between them. It's a rematch. It was a decent fight the first time, and you can sell a fight like that. But with Ishe, he's at a point where there are a lot of options based on the fact that Harrison and Charlo did what they did. Now you got Ishe. Maybe he goes and gets Charlo. You know what I mean? Maybe he can get that rematch with Harrison. There are a lot of guys in that PBC.
I'm just so happy
stable.
We're at a point in boxing where a guy that I'm not trying to be like disrespectful or anything like that, but when a guy has 10 losses and he's still a viable player in the division and still a viable player for a belt, like, man, I think boxing.
No, I think you're. I don't know. What's your definition of viable player? And definitely,
if he beats Lubin, I think then he should be at least at the very least in a title eliminator. Should at the least if he beats Lubin.
I don't think that is accurate or fair.
Wow, coming off the performance,
Ishe is coming off of 2 back-to-back losses,
but
and
the loss he's coming off of wasn't.
a
It was
prospect that is also coming off a loss. You
now.
got to build off that. You got to get this fight and one more fight. Then you entitled to talk in contention. Like,
No,
one win. I mean, that's not fair. That's not fair.
Let's see where Ishe is ranked in the WBC.
But I think you got to understand from a business side.
Get the WBC overall. He's 23, bro.
Okay, but look, Ness, you
We
got to
know there's
understand it from a
different things
business standpoint.
Is all I'm saying.
And especially from the way that PBC operates. Look, you're thinking like, oh, is Ishe going to get the shot? Like, does he deserves this? But no, a lot of times these title fighters, these champions, before they make these big fights like Jared Hurd and Charlo or whoever, they're looking for what they would consider softer opposition that can sell a fight.
We said that he
exactly
he could end up being one of the hometown fights and get a title shot like that. But the way Mike is saying is like, yo, he beats Lubin, he deserves to be in a title eliminator. It's like, whoa, bro. I mean, Kell Brook just got in the division. He's got 2 wins and he ain't lose, And again, Lubin ain't beat nobody for it to catapult Ishe. So like maybe Ishe beats Lubin and Lubin and Brook could see each other, Lubin and there's a lot of people, bro. There's just a lot of people that, Lubin and Williams and Ishe, like those fights could happen again.
Yeah. I don't think Harrison and Smith too is completely out of the realm of possibility, assuming there is no immediate rematch with the Charlo. But I think that right there,
winning against Lubin, and we all know that Tony Harrison won't want a hometown fight.
No, we said that. We said that'll be the way Ishe gets the fight, but not the way you're saying, where you win this fight and you deserve title eliminate.
I'm not saying that he deserves, but you can kind of match him up in a title eliminator. Lubin is right.
You shouldn't. He should be cherry picked and get a title shot. He shouldn't.
That's how I think it'll come about.
He should not be matched up. One win. I mean, bro, Lubin is rebuilding. I mean, oh my God, me and Mike get into these retarded arguments because he doesn't understand logic. It's like, how is a rebuilding prospect give you the diving board to a title shot?
Because Lubin is ranked highly in the WBC.
My man, he ain't. Forget that. We talking about the whole division, not just one sanctioning body.
But it's more. Go ahead, man.
Oh, go ahead. Why you got?
I mean, it's more than 4. It's 4 belts in the division, so there's more than one sanctioning body. So, with that being said, every sanctioning body don't have the same rankings. You know that, right? Absolutely. So one person could be higher in one division and be lower in another division. All I'm saying is, if Ishe goes out there and put a performance on and beats Lubin, I think. Why not throw him in a title eliminator or a contender? I mean, it makes sense to me.
See, I think
put him in there. Put him in there with Jamil. I mean, Jamil Charlo, and have those fight for the right to fight Tony Harrison if Ishe was to win. But if Lubin wins, do the same thing, vice versa.
Again, my issue with your whole analogy or your theory or your hypothetical is that you're saying he beats Lubin, throw him in there for an eliminator. Nah, he beat Lubin. He need another fight.
I think that because we said this earlier too, Mike. With Lubin, I don't think. Okay.
See if that's gonna work. We got Ishe on Skype. Let's see if that connection sounds any better. What's going on, Ishe?
What's up? Can you guys hear me now?
Oh man,
perfect.
Now you sound like crystal clear. Now
let me ask my question first, though. Let me get out the way. Ishe, how's it going? My name is Michael Gross. I was just telling these guys, in my opinion, if you were to beat Erickson Lubin, I believe that maybe you should be in a title eliminator or something to move you up in the rankings. What do you feel about that statement?
Well, I fought Julian Williams, and a lot of people thought I won that fight. He's probably getting ready to fight for a title this year, whether it be Hurd or I think he's gonna get a shot this year. And then I fought Harrison and to a split decision. He's been performing very well. Definitely not the same fighter that I saw on film before. Before I fought him, so he's improved a great deal. Very close fight, but I definitely think it wasn't no robbery. And now I'm fighting another good fighter, a fighter who had a lot of hype behind him and had suffered one setback. And so, I just want to, keep going out there and putting on good performances. And, and I'm okay with being the people's champ. If that's what, if the judging is bad and all that kind of stuff, that, I can't control what they see on the night of the fight or what they can do from ringside. I let you guys be the judge of those type of things. You guys are the reporters and stuff, and I'm fine with being the people's champ. I've accomplished everything, but when we come out victorious against Lubin, I'm back with Eddie Mustafa, so I'm confident that I'll get another title shot. Where I'm 1-1. 1-1 against K9 and came up short against Lara. So I mean, I've been in there with everybody. It's not nothing that he can do or can make me. It's nothing. I can't be in an uncomfortable situation, and I'm excited for the fight. I know Kevin is a great trainer; he'll have him ready. But I'm definitely excited for it.
But isn't part of the allure of being the people's champ? And like, I look back exactly what you said. That was going to be one of my questions. Seeing what Harrison was able to do, that should propel your split decision, which a lot of people thought you did win. That should propel it even higher. That should be more of a badge of honor now, not to take away from the fact, oh, you lost, of course, but with all those tangibles, isn't it more likely that if you beat Lubin, you're going to be in a promoter's mind or a champion's mind cherry picked? And isn't that going to be better for you where they're overlooking you? I mean, that's been done your entire career. Wouldn't you see a shot to the title come much faster that way, where they think they can kind of just get you and put you in, give a name, and then, you get your shot that way?
Yeah, yeah, it possibly can. I also didn't think it would, take me 13 years to get my first shot. So after the hype, I've been in Lubin's position. I've been in, some of these guys' position. Back in the day, I was Mr. Showbox, where I would headline. I headline like 4 or 5 shows on Showbox. So you would think so, but I'm fine with, I'm comfortable with what I've done. Next year will be my 19th year, and you show me someone from my era still fighting and still competing with younger guys who are way younger. Like Lubin is just a little bit older than my daughter, and so you show me a guy that has lasted, that long, almost 20 years and competing at a high level. It's truly remarkable. So anything's possible, but I wouldn't, I just want to focus on him and take care of my business against him. And, like I said, I have a great deal of respect for Kevin. I've been knowing him for so long. When he had Spinks as undisputed champion, before he even started the Alexander, brothers, I was sparring them as amateurs. So I have a lot of respect for Kevin, and I know hopefully that respect is mutual, and I know he'll have Lubin ready, and Eddie Mustafa have me ready.
Ishe, how you doing? Nestor Gibbs here. I just wanted to see if you can help us out. I mean, throughout the week, we've been debating on what's a prospect and what's a contender. Mike, can you bring them up to speed as to what triggered me? I know you called someone a contender.
Yes, me and Ness had an argument about Marcus Brown. He felt like since Marcus Brown has been a 2012 Olympian and every other Olympian has had a title shot, he's not necessarily a contender right now. But in my opinion, I believe he is a contender and he's no longer a prospect. What's your thoughts about it?
Well, the rule of thumb is you have to, when you're a prospect, you fight another prospect, right? So when I was a prospect, I was like 12-0 or 11-0, and I fought a guy that was like 14-0, David Estrada, and that was my prospect fight. I had fought the former title challenger before that, which was Sam Garr. He had fought for a title. He was unsuccessful, but I only had like 12 fights, and he had like probably like 30 some odd fights at that time. I beat him. Then they took me to the prospect stage. Well, okay, we got 2 up and coming guys, and now we're gonna put you in this prospect fight, and I beat him. And then after that, they said, okay, we got a former champion in Randall Bailey. You beat him, you on your way. So that guy had more knockouts than I had fights. I was like 13, 14-0. He was like 27 and 2. It was his knockout ratio was crazy. And I beat him. So I think in order to get to that contender stage, and once I beat Randall Bailey, I was top 10 of every organization at 147 pounds. And I think you have to pass certain tests before you can just immediately be blessed into being called a contender or being called a blue chip prospect. I think you got to beat a former champion, or you have to beat somebody of some type of name stature that's been in the game long enough to give you a test and pass that test in order to be called a contender. Now, I haven't followed Marcus Brown extensively, besides the fact that I know he's fighting my brother Badu Jack, but he's been in here now for a while, and I don't know if he's had the prospect and the former champ or the contender type fights. But if he's definitely a contender. But whether what we believe in that, we'll find out on January 19th, because he's definitely in there with the bona fide champion. So yeah, he's gonna graduate real quick that night.
Now, when you fought Randall Bailey, he was already a former champ, though, right?
Right.
See, that's the difference. Like on Marcus Brown, and I'm not picking his resume apart at all, but on Marcus Brown, I believe his only former champ is Gabriel Campillo, who became champion very late and, just wasn't thought highly of,
He still fought him, though. I mean, it really don't matter. I mean, he still fought him, though, and he's in the test right now. Like, Badu is legitimately one of the top fighters in the world in his weight class, and Marcus Brown, he's either gonna sink or he's gonna swim, and I would say he's somewhat a contender. He's been doing it now 6 years since he's been out the. He's got to be somewhat of a contender, and this is a very dangerous fight for him. So, and if he's not a contender, if he shouldn't be in no fight like that, we'll find out very soon, January 19th.
Let me bring it into context, because I know this will get back to Marcus and he'll think that I'm saying he's not good enough. My thing is, a fight with Badu Jack for an undefeated 2012 Olympian deserves a title shot. So A, if he loses, it was worth it. B, if he wins, he just took the boogeyman of the division. The baddest dude, the guy that people thought beat Adonis Stevenson, the guy that's already moved up a couple of divisions, multiple division champion. Now, why would anyone fight you without a belt and they know you just beat Badu Jack? So I don't like that for Marcus. This should have been for a belt, and if not, don't take it, because if you lose or you win, in my opinion, you're in a bad position.
One thing that he's not breaking up, Badu Jack is number 1 and Marcus Brown is number 2. So I know I'm assuming, but in my opinion, it will be a title eliminator.
Yeah,
I think it's an interim on the line, though. I think I read that somewhere, some type of WBA interim or something on the line in this fight, which we know how those works. If the champion don't fight you, you automatically elevated to champ. Now, I try to be a good historian, so I think I read that somewhere that it is for an interim title. So look, when you're Marcus Brown and you got something to prove and you want to come out and you want to show you belong, there's no fighting that is when you haven't proved anything. Whether he's labeled a contender or a prospect, he still has a lot to prove. The label doesn't matter. He has a lot to prove. I know people that go from prospect and go straight to title fights without even never fighting a contender. So he has a lot to prove. So whether he, it don't matter what we label, he got to go out there and fight the fight. And if he wins, he's on now. I just don't think I just don't think this is. I think Badu is just too. Badu's too good of a fighter for him, and it's a very tough fight for him. And Badu is just another level.
It is actually for a vacant WB interim light heavyweight title. You are correct. Real quick, just to kind of change gears here a little bit. I was wondering if you had checked out the Contender series that had relaunched. Obviously, everybody knows that you made your bones there. You got a lot of claim to fame. But it's kind of a two-part question. A, did you see it? And B, do you think that there is a market for it? Do you think that the way it was produced and the way that yours was produced back then, I mean, do you think that boxing is missing that on a main stage where we could see prospects or even contenders or whatever mix it in like that, give some real world TV type experience to these guys, much like the UFC does with the Tough?
You know what? I didn't watch one episode, even though it's a hard channel to really get a hold of too.
It is. You're right.
It's a very hard channel to really get a hold to, and I just think that ship kind of sailed, man. I really do. I think
a lot of people say that. A lot of people say that.
Yeah,
No, Ishe, it was dope. It was dope.
Well, you got to go back and watch season 1. Season 1 was the dopest season they ever had, and it was
it was.
It was on NBC mainstream television, and it didn't work then. And I just don't. It wasn't a success then, and I just don't know. Keep to rehash, and they tried seasons after that. Went to NBC, went to ESPN, and it went other places after that. And I just don't think the fans gravitate to it. I really don't, and I just think the Contender was ahead of its time. Now, if you ask me today, if some boxing debut, if you take our show that was 10 years ago, our show was 14 years ago. If you take our show that was 14 years ago and you put that on NBC today, with social media, with all these platforms, it's an immediate success. Fighters are having millions of followers. We're signing endorsement deals, but I just really think the Contender was ahead of its time, and I think the ship has sailed on it, man. I don't think fans gravitated as much. I didn't watch one episode, even though I had a buddy on there I was rooting for, and Cash. But I think the platform was bad for it, and with the channel, it was very hard channel to get a hold of too on some networks. On some cable providers, and I just think the Contender was ahead of its time, man. I really do.
I got a question for you, Ishe. Michael here again. You've been on the wrong side of some of the decisions, and so have Badu Jack. Is there anything that we can do in the sport of boxing to get a definitive outcome, sort of like basketball, football, baseball, soccer?
No, it will never work because of the biasness of even sometimes those guys get it wrong. So, and then when you start putting people in charge of maybe replays and stuff like that, it just kind of takes out of the element. And those sports get it right with the replays, but I just think it takes out.
But shouldn't we use replay though? Like, say if somebody catches a hit, but we know for a fact it was done by a punch, and the ref says a accidental headbutt. Shouldn't there be able for somebody to go back and replay that and say no, that cut was caused by a punch?
Well, then what if person A thinks it's a punch and then person B thinks it's slightly a headbutt?
Then you got to go with what's in the ring, like football. You go call on the field.
What if the ref don't really know what it is? I just think when you start replaying in boxing, what are you gonna do? Have the fighter sit in between rounds and wait until that rule?
Exactly.
I think when you start messing with the foundations of boxing, it really can kind of demean the sport. And I think it's some of the judging nowadays is awful. We just saw last weekend with the second Charlo brother who fought in the main event. The 119, the 11 round to 1 score was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah,
I've been on some bad decision. I fought Danny Jacobs, and that was like a 2 to 3 round fight. I mean, he eked that fight out, and one of the judges didn't give me 1 round in that fight. So I've been a victim. I fought Fernando Guerrero, the same thing. If you look at the scores against Julian Williams, the same thing. I just don't think that's ever going to be fixed, and I think the commissions need to do a better job. That when judges really score and turn in bad scorecards, they really need to be held accountable for those scorecards. And I think that's the biggest problem in boxing, that the judges have no accountability. Like that judge that turned in that scorecard last week, the 11 rounds to 1 in the main event, he'll be judging again soon with no repercussions. And I think that is the biggest problem wrong with boxing.
I hear where you're coming from, and really this is a 2-part. Well, okay, no, never mind. I'll just ask this one question for now. When that happens, especially to a fighter like you, and I could be wrong in how I've seen you fight lately, but I do believe it has had an effect to at least your strategy or maybe approach. When it happens and happens over and over again, where you see these decisions and then you're in a close fight and you're like, man, does it affect the way, after it's happened multiple times, does it affect the way that you fight? Does it affect your approach, your style? Do you start to change things that you would have normally never changed? I mean, like what kind of effect does it have on you mentally when it's happened repeatedly, like in your case?
You just laugh at it now. I mean, now I have like friends and family members and people get upset. Like I had a lot of people upset about the Julian Williams fight, and I'm just numb to it now. It's happened so much that it's just, I'm numb to it. It's like, whatever, man. I can't, now I just tell you guys, and I say this after fight, so I'm not even being political when I say this just to sound good in this interview. I've said this to my friends and to reporters after fights. Like, I cannot control what these people see on the side of the ring. I just can't. You can't even worry about that. All you got to do is go out there and fight your best fight. Hopefully they see the right stuff and hopefully they do the right thing. But I can't control these people, man. I don't know what they look at half the time. I don't know if they're friends with the promoters, but just some of these scorecards are really questionable and really bad. So, and I just like, I'm at an age now where I've been in the game so long. It's just like, I'm just having fun, man, and still able to compete at a high level. And I tell myself, when I can't do that no more, I'm gone, man. I've had a great career, and I'm still able to compete. The guy I fought to a split decision, won a damn world title last weekend. The other guy that I fought with many people, Julian Williams, many people thought I won the fight. He's gonna get ready to fight for the title. So I'm just happy to get in there and still compete after being in this sport for 19 years.
Yo, real quick, just because I want to touch on that one more time, because I know we're going to leave the topic. We had a question the other day. We do this segment where we have, people ask us questions, and robberies have, you're talking about the judging and how bad it's been, but there's also the term robberies that keeps being thrown around. Like, people are calling the Charlo fight a robbery, the Charlo Harrison fight. I didn't think it was a robbery. I thought it was, it was a close fight. Do you think that the term robbery has just gone way out of proportion, or people throwing that around way too much now?
I didn't think last weekend was a robbery. I really didn't. When you have one, and Julie Letterman is one of the better refs in the game. She's a very good ref. I don't know her personally, but I've seen some of the fights she's judged, and I've been around this game long enough to know that she turns in pretty solid scorecards. When you have a fight 115, 113 2 times, and a fight that had ups and downs and twists and turns, you have one guy trying to knock somebody out and not really. And you had another guy boxing very well. Some of those rounds can be swing rounds. Some of those rounds can be close. So when you score a fight 7 rounds to 5, and, it's very tough to call that a robbery. I've seen some robberies in this sport. I mean, I've seen Sweet Pea beat the hell out of Chavez and get robbed. I've seen De La Hoya survive against Felix Sturm, a fight that Felix Sturm got robbed because they wanted De La Hoya to fight Bernard Hopkins instead of Felix Sturm. So I've seen some awful, awful decisions, man. I think Lennox Lewis drew Holyfield, I think, the first fight, and I think that was awful. And so I've been a witness to some horrible robbery decisions, and I don't think some of these decisions, honestly, I don't think they classify as robberies, especially last weekend. I think that was far from a robbery. Yeah, one guy boxing, working. What, we don't score jabs no more? Are we? Listen, if a guy gets
Exactly.
we don't score jabs no more. Then Willie, if we are not gonna score jabs, then Willie Pep would have never existed. You know, some of the greatest fighters who had Larry Holmes won rounds with just his jab alone. So we don't score jabs no more. Getting hit with a right hand is the same as what? Getting hit with a couple of jabs, man. So we just not gonna score jabs no more. We're not gonna score somebody boxing beautiful and using a ring and technique. We just not gonna score those things no more. Ring generalship. We're not gonna score those things. We're gonna score ineffective pressure that we're just going to score because a guy's coming forward and it's ineffective. We're going to just start giving him rounds. So this is how we're going to score fights nowadays. I mean, that's awful, man. So I think last weekend was far from a robbery. Far from it.
Ishe, man, as you said, you're the people's champ. So we want to take the time out to do a little segment where we go to questions from our patrons. Our patrons are, our most loyal listeners that believe in the movement, and they're subscribed on a monthly basis. So we have a post called Ask Ishe Smith Questions, and we got the first one coming from Mad Bent, which asks, are you campaigning for another title shot, and what is your path?
I think there are many pathways to reach your destiny. There's not one certain pathway carved out, because if I had a pathway carved out, it wouldn't have taken me 13 years to get my first title shot. So I'm just living the moment, man. I'm in the moment. I'm just an in the moment guy. I try to not think about what I'm gonna do tomorrow or what I'm gonna do the next day. I think about what I'm gonna do today. And right now I'm in the moment. And the guy in front of me right now is Erickson Lubin, and I'm excited for that fight. No matter what, no matter what happens. Far as fighting for a world championship or, going on whatever I may do after that. My job is to go out there and be victorious against Lubin, and that's my main focus. So that's my path right now. I'm just an in the moment type of guy.
Next one is from Rockman, who says, did you see the Jamel versus Harrison fight? If so, why didn't he have the same success you did?
Because they believe their own hype. And look, man, when you get to a certain level, I've been in this game long enough, and I've sparred some great fighters: Bernard Hopkins, Vernon Forrest, Pernell Whitaker, Floyd Mayweather, Shane Mosley, Oscar De La Hoya. And when you get to a certain level, I keep telling people, man, you're not going to knock everybody out, man. You're just not. I suffered my first knockdown against Vanez, and I still got up, and that was a majority decision. Without those knockdowns, I'll probably win that fight. You're not going to knock certain guys out, and you can't fight like you always going to knock guys out. And I think they start believing their own hype, man. And, when you get guys coming in, getting their first title shot, or getting a chance to make history and provide for their family, they're going to be what I like to call on one. They're going to be up there at the highest level you can get them at. So you go out there, you swing for the fences. He missed a lot of shots, man. And Tony boxed beautiful. Like I said, I give props where props is due. Even though he edged me out, split decision, ain't no hate in my blood, man. He did a great job, and I think he very much well. I didn't think they was gonna give it to him, barring the champion. The motto, I'm from the old school, you got to take a champion's belt. I thought it was close, so usually close fights go to champions, but I was not shocked when they gave him the decision at all.
All right. Next one's coming from Dave Kawa, who says, my question for Ishe is, what keeps you motivated at this point in your career? You've never been knocked out, so does your durability motivate you to keep fighting?
It's the fact that I can still compete. When I'm around these old timers and I hear how they talk and what boxing did to them and stuff like that, I always say this game will never get the best for me. So making history is obviously my motivation. I did that becoming the first Las Vegan, the first Nevadan to win a world championship. And obviously I want to be the first 2-time world champion. So, and I'm still competing at a high level. I've taken care of my body for 40 years. I've never done drugs. I don't drink. And I'm just a firm believer, if you take care of your body's like a car to take care of you. And I've been able to hold up and pass people and stay in this game longer than most. And that's just a testament of the promises that I kept to myself when I was a kid, man, about never doing drugs and no alcohol. You can't be a part-time fighter. And as much as I love Adrian Broner, and I think he gets a bad rap, the one thing that a lot of these young guys do is an old timer told me when I was a young pro, you can't be a part-time fighter. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He said, number one, it's hard to work a full-time job in box. He said, that's very hard, boxing professionally. He said, number two, you can't be a part-time fighter by doing drugs, drinking, hanging out at night, doing whatever you want to do out of training, and then try to get it right when you're in training. And he's absolutely right. And if you look at AB in between fights, if you look at someone, like I said, I love Adrian Broner. I'm his biggest defender. And, you know, I'm always going to support AB. He's always showed me love, but he can't live that kind of lifestyle out of training and then get in training and think you're going to clean it up in eight weeks. It's just, you can't do that to your body, man. And it'll catch up eventually to you. It really will. You got to be dedicated to your craft. And, you know, a drink every once in a while is okay, but these guys take it to the cake. They're 30 pounds overweight, 40 pounds overweight. They're drinking, they're partying. You just can't live that kind of life, man, and think you're going to be a high athlete. You're not going to be a great athlete doing that.
Little quick question, short answer. You being in Vegas, do you bet on boxing?
I don't. Every once in a while, I bet. I try to stay out of casinos because rule of thumb here, people got to keep them lights on. Them lights are on 24/7 inside. If you go in a casino, it ain't never dark. So I'm trying to not contribute to their light bills. So I kind of stay out of them places when it comes to gambling.
No, well, I'm more interested in boxing betting. And I guess my question and one that Mike and I share is how do the betting odds get it right all the time? How do they always know the favorite and know that a guy, like, how'd they know Tyson Fury wasn't getting knocked out? They knew that. The odds indicated that shit.
I have no idea. Them guys are sharp, man. Them some sharp guys. They're always close within the point spreads, within the overs and unders. They're very sharp individuals, man.
That's crazy.
Very sharp individual. You'll never beat the house. You'll never beat the house.
I see. We're going to go to Jose in Canada. It says, the Contender was the birth of boxing to a new market of boxing fans. I personally became obsessed with boxing after watching the Contender. How thankful are you to have joined that show? And I would love to see a 4-man tournament with you, Manfredo Jr., the Latin Snake, Sergio Mora, and Alfonso Gomez.
The problem, I think the show, like I said, I think the show was ahead of its time. I think it was great. Then I think if it came out today without all the, we just erased that time and put the Contender debut today on NBC, I think we're all instant celebrities. But I don't think a 4-man tournament wants. A lot of those guys don't even fight no more. I think me and Sergio are the only ones still fighting. Sergio's starting to transition into things outside of boxing, which is good, like commentating now. He's a very good commentator, speaks very well. So I don't think it works. And I don't even know if I want to go back to, I fought Gomez in my my third pro fight, beat him. I used to spar Manfredo. I know Manfredo's not fighting no more. I don't know about Alfonso, and I think Sergio's he may be doing one last run and having fun with his commentating. He's doing a tremendous job with that. So I don't think a tournament with us works. It was a great show. I would love to one day probably do a reunion and see how everybody's doing. But it was a great time, man. That would be dope.
That would be dope. I would love to see a reunion.
Joseph Wright says you're coming off two losses. You're coming off of losses to Tony Harrison and J-Rock. Are you concerned that you're being used as a stepping stone to build Lubin back up?
Well, you can't. How can you? I gave Julian everything he can handle, even with the headbutts throughout the fight, everything that was going on. Julian Williams is a great young man and a great fighter, and I gave him everything he can handle. He graduated that night. He realized he graduated. He's done well since me and him fought. And then Tony Harrison was a split decision. How can you use anyone in too close in a fight that most people thought I won in Julian Williams, and in a fight that was a split decision? I can't be used for nobody because I'm not. Everybody that fights me know they got to come on their A game and they got to be right. And I'm 40 years old. I turned 40 this year, so. And I'm still, everybody knows they get in there with me, they're going to have to fight. So I don't think I'm a stepping stone to nobody. I just go out there and I fight. And like I said, if these judges get it wrong, I let the people decide. And I'm going to keep fighting as long as I'm competitive. That's my thing. I ain't going to be in here forever, but right now I'm competitive. I feel good. And, I don't feel 40, nor do I look it. So as long as I can compete at a high level, I'm going to keep fighting, man.
Elms in the UK says, throughout your career, you have consistently demonstrated craftiness, toughness, skill, and defense. This has been demonstrated in the fact that you have never been stopped. Armed with those tools, do you believe you have a style advantage over the unified champion, Jarrett Hurd?
Jarrett Hurd is a problem for anyone. He would be a problem. He's a hard puzzle to crack because he reminds me so much of an old school fighter. He's just a throwback, man. And even the way he fights, he's very big. Yeah, he's very crafty. And he's just size, his girth. He's huge. And I would like to think my craftiness against any of them will give any of them trouble, but he's definitely top dog in the division. There's no question about it. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. Lara was the man. He beat Lara. You become the man. Back in the day, we say now you got the juice. So he got the juice now, man. He is the guy. He's the guy that everybody should be gunning for. If Julian fight him next, Julian's gonna definitely have his hands full. He's a very tough puzzle to crack. He's a throwback fighter, a pleasure to watch. I like watching him, and I would love to mix it up with him in the future. But I got to take care of business first, man, and that's what Lubin. That's my focus. But he's one of the ones I like to watch, and what I like about him more than anything, he seems like he's a humble kid. Like he's not running around and screaming and talking about what he gonna do and all of that. He's a very humble kid, and he goes out there and he fights his ass off, and I like that about him, man. Even though we're in the same division, I like that. I got to give respect where respect is due.
You got the juice now, man.
Let me go to, we got Travis Fierson. He says, being an OG vet in the game, has Ishe ever considered being a boxing trainer after boxing?
That's what I wondered.
Most definitely, man. It's something that I definitely want to get into and make sure that I'm able to give back in some type of way and be kind of hands-on with whatever I'm doing, whether it's training, whether that's on the promoting side. I would like to, I came up fighting on these little club shows in Vegas. I got signed by the Orleans casino promoter over there, Guilty Boxing, and I was fighting over there. It wasn't making a lot of money, but it kept me busy, kept me being able to feed my family somewhat. And we don't have that in Vegas right now. We don't have those monthly shows to keep people busy. So I would love to, in the future, get my hands in that and help out these young fighters who can't get on the PBC shows, get seen, help them be able to build up records and have them go off. I don't want to be big time, man. I don't want to be, rivaling with the big promoters. I just want to do my small thing, build up some fighters, and you know what, when they're ready to go to the Al Haymans and, the bigger promoters, the Lou DiBellas, let them go and make some money, man. That's how I built myself up. And I would love to be able to do that, to give back to these fighters who can't stay active. And I know it's rough because, it's hard to put on local shows. I would love to get back into the Vegas local scene.
All right. Chris the Magician in LA says this will be your third fight in almost 3 years and against good fighters. I really believe you can win this fight, but do you hang them up if you lose since you're pushing 40 and you lost your last 2 fights?
Right now it's just losing is not an option. I feel good. I feel good. Me and Eddie Mustafa's back together. Me and him we had some great fights together. Won the title together, made history. Had a tremendous fight against Fernando Guerrero, which a lot of people thought I won that fight. Very close fight, even though the scores didn't indicate it. Had a very tough fight against Danny Jacobs. I thought he edged it out, but it could have been 2 or 3 points. But some of the scores were crazy in that fight. But I'm not focusing on. You never go into a situation focusing on the worst. You don't get married thinking you're gonna get divorced in a year. You go into it happy. You're happy you married your partner, your soulmate, and you go there. You put your best foot forward, and shit happens sometimes. So I don't go into a fight thinking, you know what? What happens if I lose? What happens is this? What? No, I go in there to win, and shit, we'll deal with the rest afterwards, man. But my job is to be victorious, and that's what my main focus is. I don't care if the kid was 19, 18, no matter what his age is. I'm going out there to put my best foot forward and be victorious. And the one thing I know is, like, when them rounds get tough and when you get out to that deep end, even though Kevin's a great trainer, and when you get out to that deep end of that water, man, it ain't nobody out there swimming with you. I've been out there a lot of times and I've been able to swim. And I just know that my experience plays a big part of that. From just all the sparring I've done with them world champions, sparring Bernard Hopkins taught me a lot because he has so many tricks and so many things up his sleeve. And I learned so much just being in his camp from just watching him spar and taking the ring with him myself. So it's nothing I haven't seen. And no, people can't fight for you. And I think, like I said, I think Kevin is a great coach. But when that kitchen start getting hot, I know I got the materials to stay in there, and we're gonna see what he's made of.
It's not quick. Like how many rounds it is. Can you just clarify that?
It should be 10.
Okay.
I don't think it should be less than that. I would be shocked if it's anything less than 10. I haven't gone 8 rounds, and I don't know how long, but it should be 10. And I don't know if it's on TV or not. That don't bother me, but should be 10 rounds. I would think he will want 10 rounds. I know I want 10 rounds, and we'll see what happens.
It's being reported that it is on TV, by the way.
Oh, okay, great.
I got a follow-up question. You said you're just now starting to train with Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. Shout out to him. He gave me one of my first interviews, but he does have a world champion in Rob Brandt. Have you met him? And if so, do you guys have like a relationship? Have you guys sparred or trained together?
Rob trains a little bit earlier than me. We started camp a while ago once this fight was being discussed, and we just brought Eddie back. I thought, it's just a saying that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? But you can teach an old dog if he's willing to learn. And the thing that I like about Eddie is sometimes we get comfortable when you're an old fighter or you're an old basketball player, you like any old professional athlete, you get comfortable in kind of setting your ways and can't nobody really tell you much. I mean, we all do it. We think we can do it on our own, but honestly, we can't. What I like about Eddie is he's been there, he's done that. And some of the mistakes that I've even made in some of these fights with it's mistakes I made against Harrison, little mistakes. It's mistakes I made against Julian Wheeldon, just little mistakes. And I just know with Eddie, those little mistakes don't happen because he fixed those kind of things. And it's very important to have those eyes that's been there, that's been a world champion before, and that can see you making little mistakes and say, no, son, you're messing up. So it's good. I'm willing to learn, even though I know so much about the game and I've been in there with everybody. I'm still at a point where I need to be willing to learn. I can't have people around me that I know more than, I don't respect the information they're giving me and I know more than them. I got to have somebody around me that I respect the information he's giving and I'm willing to listen. So having him back is crucial.
We got a couple more. King Amin in Essex says, you've been on the original Contender series. You've proven you're a vet and worthy opponent at 154 and the only world champion born and raised in Las Vegas, despite the historic fight scene in the town. How much of your current campaign is based on wanting to accomplish more in the sport versus perhaps utilizing the sport to keep your healthy and respect to your mental health and wellness?
Well, I don't get hit a lot, man. It took me, what if I found this in 2017, I think, or 16. It took me almost 15, 16, 17, 18 years professional before I even touched the canvas. And that was being in there with K9 and being in there with, guys who can really punch. So
Jacobs,
right. So in my Jacobs fight, if you watch the fight, I know when he was getting ready to fight, I think when he was getting ready to fight a big fight on HBO, I can't remember.
Dimitri Prague.
Yeah, they was showing that fight all the time. And I usually heard him in like the 6th or 7th round. So, I don't know, man. My mental health is fine. I'm not going to be, listen, trust me, I'm not going to be in this game longer than I'm supposed to be. And right now I'm having fun. I don't feel like I'm 40. My legs don't feel like I'm 40. Some days, of course, my bounce back ain't as great as it was when I was 20. If I'm tired and sore and put 110% in the gym one day, hell, I may have to relax a little bit and then recover for a minute. Of course, my bounce back ain't like like I'm 20 years old. But far as competing at a high level, of course, I can still go in there and spar guys and spar a lot of young guys. My sparring is just as hard as my fights, man. So, and a lot of young guys still say, man, you can go. And these guys are in the gym who see me, who are learning after me, So it's the same way I was when I came up with Diego, and I was learning after Diego Corrales and learning after these guys I was in camp with. And if I can get back and help these guys out, I'm good. But you would never catch me anywhere not being able to speak, slurring my speech, not being coherent. Like, that's not going to be my story, man. So I'll know when it's time to go. But right now I'm having a good time, and I've taken care of my body for 40 years, and it's done me right, man.
Info Joe in California says, out of all the current fighters, who do you think is the next big superstar?
The next big superstar, man, that kid Lopez is really good, man. For top rank, he's a really good kid. Devin Haney's very good too. It's kind of hard to. I'm going just off like the guys that's like borderline, because obviously you got your Lomachenko's and you got them, but I think they're kind of already superstars. But I'm going off the younger guys like the Lopez kid, the Haney kid. They're really good fighters, man. There's some very good fighters. I think heavyweight wise, I think Big Baby's a good little. He's on the brink. I think he can give Joshua or Wilder any type of trouble. So it's some good fighters out there. But I definitely think leading the pack right now that may be on that verge is definitely the Lopez kid and Haney right now. They seem to be the top dogs right now that could be on the brink of stardom in the next couple years.
And we got two more. Eno, obviously in New Orleans, says he says, if you could change anything about your career, what would it be?
Oh man, it's hard, because even the dumb decisions that I've made throughout my career is all a learning point to get me where I am today, to make me the fighter and the man I am today. So that's a good question. It is hard because I like to use every experience as a learning experience and, kind of reflect. Maybe I could have did this different. Maybe I could have did that different. Even managers I had in the past that, were taking a lot of money or bad promoters, it was all just a part of learning to get me where I am today. So I don't know. I wouldn't change anything, man. I'm very happy with, my career. Is it the Floyd Mayweather career or the De La Hoya or any of those guys? No, it's not, but it's my career. It's what I set out to accomplish. It's everything I wanted to do. and I've done it. And I can be one day sitting at home with my grandkids knowing that I achieved everything. And I know I can walk down streets in America. I can walk down to any boxing gym in America and people will recognize at least one person in a main boxing gym in America in every state is going to know who I am. And that's a testament. And that's all I wanted to accomplish, you know, to never have to introduce myself, to one day people recognize who I am and come up to me and shake my hand. And I've done that. And I don't care what people say. I've got 10 losses over 19 years. That's a hell of a, you know, you don't see me with 40 losses. I got 10 losses against some of the best fighters in that was available for me to fight. And some of them are probably still out there doing great things. So, and a lot of those losses were disputable losses, you know, like questionable, like robberies or the scores are messed up. So I'm happy, man. And if that's the biggest knock people got on me, then so be it.
The last one is from Jaspreet. He says, do you agree it is a good idea to jump on Lubin early to take advantage of any demons he may have from his KO loss from Jermell Charlo?
I don't know. I don't know. Even if it was, I don't know if I would say it right now. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I kind of like to just gather up information from the opponent in the beginning. So I like to download that information, you know, and see how they gonna fight, see how they gonna switch it up, see how they gonna react to certain things. And, you know, I'm always thinking in there. I try to outthink my opponents. It's chess, not checkers. And I'll know how I come out. A lot will be dictated on how he come out. And of course I want to go out there and steal my will early. But I think it's going to be a very good fight. It may steal the night. I think it's a very good card. Tank is one of the, you know, he's a great champion, a great young fighter. I told him I haven't seen that kind of power since I was a kid coming up. I've seen Tank stretch guys in the gym. So his power is very legit for his size. If people think, I was telling people this, if you think that Lomachenko is just going to run through Tank, you're crazy, because I've seen this guy knock people out in the gym like cold, like good fighters, and everything his power is advertised to be, it is. Like, there's nothing false about that power. I've seen him knock guys out with headgear. So I think, and Abner Mares is a great 3-time champion, I think, in 3 different weight classes. So it's a good card, good fight. And me and Diego opened that place up. Me and Diego Corrales was the first fight at the StubHub Center. I know they're changing the name. It'll always be StubHub to me, though. Me and Diego was the first fight ever put on at that place back in 03, I think it was. So 03 or 04, I can't remember. I think it was 03. Me and Diego fought there. He fought Damian Fuller. I fought Sal Lopez, and we were the first fight ever there. So it feels good to be going back there for a fight of this magnitude. And, you know, I'm excited, man. Like I said, I'm just enjoying the ride, man. It's been a hell of a ride, and it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun.
Ishe, man, well, that's all our questions. We want to thank you, obviously, for your time. You've been great. I know it's, busy for you, being pulled in many different ways. It is training camp, so we appreciate you taking out the time to come on a Boxing Voice and just talk a little boxing with us, and obviously answer the questions from the people as well. You could give any social media at this point. For those that aren't following, you can do so. And once again, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you so much. It's just always Ishe Smith, man. Ishe Sugar Shay on IG and Twitter and Facebook. Ishe Smith. I'm pretty much engaged on all those things. I try to be as much as possible. Thank you guys for the support, for you guys for doing this interview, and I've gotten a lot of, this is probably the first fight that I've been in like the last few years where I've gotten a lot of support and a lot of like just people hitting me up and saying that do well, and you've been just a testament of how long I've lasted, and I do appreciate it. I do read all those messages and I try to reply back, and I do appreciate it, man. 40 years old to still be getting messages from you fans is just really important. I don't take it for granted, and I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, brother, for coming on. You spoke about Sergio Mora doing a good job commentating, man. You sound like you would do fairly well calling those fights, almost Paulie Malignaggi like, man. And you should look into that because we need some straight shooters like Paulie, and the way that Sergio is. Even Chris Manning's doing a great job on DAZN, to be honest. I mean, he's keeping it straight up real.
I think Ishe just is so well spoken. You know what I mean? Like it's the knowledge plus his ability to articulate himself so well. So that's a good call. I'd love to see you behind the mic, man.
I appreciate it. It's crazy. Paulie's doing a good thing. I was on Paulie's undercard when he fought Juan Diaz, and we was in Houston together. I've been in this game so damn long, man. But thank you guys so much, man.
Thank you, Ishe, man. You have a good night and enjoy the rest of your day. There you have it. Former IBF champion Ishe Sugar Smith. He's going to be taking on Erickson Lubin on the Gervonta Davis and Abner Mares undercard. Later on tonight, we will be having Abner Mares on the show. And I've also reached out to Tank to try and get him. We'll have Jamel Herring on the show Tuesday at 9 a.m. I mean, we got just so much. Tell a friend to subscribe to the show because there's just going to be interviews after interviews, day after day, sometimes multiple times a day. I'm going to go out to our sponsors and get to any phone calls and any final thoughts from our hosts here. But yeah, man, good show, good interview.
These calls are brought to you by El Camino Electrical Services, experts in electric vehicle charging stations. For consultations and turnkey installation, visit us at elcaminoelectricalservices.com.
I did want to say, if you guys are out there and you guys got any like gift cards or any kind of Christmas money and you want to like do some holiday shopping, head over to theboxingvoice.com/affiliate sponsors and click on the Amazon link. Bookmark it, save it, and do all your shopping through that link. It costs you absolutely nothing, but we do get a little kickback for you guys using that link. Have a blessed day, and thank you for supporting the damn Boxing Voice, man.
Any final thoughts on the interview and or topic before we jump out to the callers?
Ishe, man, very like I like when these boxers like come on and be like very transparent and just say how you feel. And I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the interview. I think he would like you said, he would be good at like commentating fights or something like that. But it seems like he's still hungry. He said his legs don't feel 40, so kind of excited to see him against Lubin now.
Well,
go ahead.
What one of the no, you go ahead because you forget.
I was just gonna say I think it's gonna be an interesting fight because Ishe is a dude that's gonna go the full 10. He ain't gonna get knocked out. And for Lubin, there hasn't been any in between. There's only been the dudes he's supposed to beat, the dude he lost to, and now this guy. Like this, I mean, this is not an easy fight.
He has one I guess comeback fight after the Charlo loss, and so
that was a dude he's supposed to be.
No, that's what I'm saying. So you're absolutely right. But the one thing I will say is I can't remember who asked the question, but somebody said, should he jump on him early? Given the shell shock from the Charlo fight. And here's the thing.
I like the word he said to see if he has any of those demons.
Yes, that was the word he used. That was really good. And I liked Ishe's response because it made it seem like if that was news to him, he's like, oh, well, yeah, I don't know. It could be, but even if it was, I wouldn't say it. I think he's trolling us, and not like trolling us to be a troll, but like he knows damn well what he wants to do. Like he's a vet. He knows where he's going. He knows the game plan. He probably knew the game plan from the moment it was signed. And even if he didn't, at this point, he knows where he's going in the fight. If anything changes his mind, it's going to be videotape, into camp. It's going to be maybe certain aspects that he's doing better that he can bring to the fight. But I found that interesting. He made it seem like if that was a surprise or if that was like a good point, which it was a good point, but I think he knows whether he's going to do that or not already. So that was cool to see him try to be on the down low with that.
Let me get out to Pat in Alabama. Talk to me.
Hey, yo, what's up, brother? How you guys doing today, man?
We're doing well. How about yourself?
Hey, great, man. I just want to tell you guys, man, great interviews, man, with Robert Garcia, Harrison, man, Winky Rice trainer, Mr. Birmingham. Enjoyed all of them. But one thing I want to focus on right now is this, that what something that Ishe talked about. And I actually wrote a post on one of the Facebook boxing groups I belong to, and I also sent one in to Laugh at First Sight, the guy that has the YouTube show of the boxing site. I went to him too, and I just wanted to emphasize about Larry Hazard Jr., man. That score that he had, 119 to 109, it has to be something from guys like you guys who have boxing shows, fans. We have to push these commissions to punish these judges, because they have to have repercussions when they score a fight like that. That was ridiculous. He didn't even give this guy a round. And that's crazy.
Yeah, but that was a commentator card, not a judge. Larry Hazard was the TV card, right?
No. His dad was. Larry Hazard Jr. was one of the official judges. Go back and check in this. Larry Hazard Sr. He was the Steve Favreau for Fox PBC show, but his son Larry Hazard Jr. was an official scorer, and it has to be some repercussions for them, because I have one or two questions. Okay, are you doing this as a favor to the promoter for the A-side fighter, or are you doing this as a result of the commission not teaching you how to score a fight? Because they have to get some backlash for this. And I'm gonna tell you something. I was at the Chavez Whitaker fight in '93. I was in the Alamo Dome at that fight, and I'll never forget something else crazy happened in that fight. It was a Zuma Nelson fighting Jesse James Lahar. They announced that fight for Azuma Nelson, and there was so much chaos in the ring by his manager, Lester Bedford. They went back and said the scorecards were wrong and made the fight a draw. And Azuma Nelson was relaxed. I recorded it, had it recorded at home. When I got home and watched it later, Azuma Nelson was saying, hey, look, it's no problem. I'll rematch him. I'll knock him out. It don't make no difference. And, him and Lahar had that big trilogy. I think they fought like 4 times. But that same night, Terry Norris knocked out Gaddy's brother in that fight, Joe Gaddy. But it was crazy because, that same night, Pernell Whitaker was robbed. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated that Monday. I still got the issue, robbed on the cover. But we have to do something to these guys. And if you guys push it, get the cut it.
Pat, we definitely not giving the full 3 out. We got another show to get ready for. We got Abner Mares scheduled to come on the show at 7 p.m. Eastern. So join us right here, same bat channel.
But Pat, I agree with everything you said, brother. Everything.
Definitely, man. And something needs to be done. It's just always difficult. I want to thank everybody that tuned in. Final thoughts is, man, Ishe gets mad respect from me. He's been in there with everybody. You could only wish to have that type of resume. But we'll be back in what looks like 2 hours and a half. So
2.5 hours, yeah.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. So catch us right here at youtube.com/ThaBoxingVoice. Don't forget to subscribe. We need to get to that 100,000. After that first 100K, we trying to knock down 200K. I'm your host, Nesta Gibbs. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at NestGTO. Thank you to all the Patreons that posted and put in their questions.
Great questions. You can follow me at Mari Munguia on Twitter, at Mari Munguia on Instagram. And Patreon's coming through with some great questions.
Michael.
Yeah, man, Patreon. I love Patreon. The Patreon listeners, man, with the questions that they ask, they don't really hold any kind of punches. So I kind of like that. And follow me on IG, Gross1911, or on Twitter at Gross2312. And big ups to Ishe Smith for coming on to the show. And stay tuned for Abner Mares later on tonight. Let's go.
Peace.
And Marcus Brown is